Rocky Balboa, Hercule, Satan, two iconic fighting characters. So I wanted to have a fun discussion today and pair up Rocky versus Hercule. The reason I think this can work is because they are both depicted as just regular humans with no superhuman abilities of any kind. So when looking at these two characters, I wanted to mainly focus on their feats. I'm not going to be diving too much into their history or their character arcs because that can be its completely own separate video. But I am going to be looking at their feats. I think if we look at their feats and what they've accomplished, it can sort of power scale them for us and potentially give us an indication of who more than likely would be able to win this fight. Now, this fight is not meant to be taken too serious, but I definitely want to know who you think would win. So feel free to comment down in the comment section below. So let's get into it.
Let's get this party started!
So Rocky. Now, Rocky has a lot of different accomplishments under his belt. This includes beating people like Apollo Creed, Clubber Lang, and even going the distance in Rocky 6 against Dixon. So there's a lot of things that we can look at from that perspective. Now, the feat or accomplishment that I think makes the most sense is his defeat of Ivan Drago. Now, Ivan from the very beginning of the film is already portrayed to be a larger-than-life character. He's beaten characters like Apollo Creed and even killed him with nothing but the force of his sheer punches, which is already a crazy, insane feat because Apollo Creed was depicted to be one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time. And here you have a character that not only beats him, but kills him. It's stated that Ivan is able to overhead press 455 pounds and that his right cross has anywhere from 1850 to 2160 psi per punch, which is already a crazy feat. So just to put that into perspective for you, an average fighter or average person will average anywhere from around 700 psi. So here you have a man that literally has 3 times the amount of force behind that.
That guy broke things in me. They ain't never been fixed.
But the main thing that we want to capture from Ivan Drago's feat of defeating and killing Apollo Creed is not so much the actual win, because we've seen Rocky beat Apollo Creed in the past. The main thing that we want to take away from this is that Rocky has enough endurance, heart, and stamina to be able to take blows from this man. The same man who was able to kill Apollo Creed. When Rocky and Ivan have their fight, you're able to see Rocky just take so much abuse from Ivan. He's able to keep coming back from each of those hits. And now we're able to put into perspective just how much power is behind each and every one of Ivan Drago's blows. Drago was a Soviet boxer who was trained to be a killing machine. He was incredibly strong and Rocky had to face him for a 15-round fight, which was argued to be one of the most brutal fights in all of boxing history. So this definitely makes the Italian Stallion's greatest feat of all time. So Hercule. He's a martial artist who's won the world tournament not once, but twice. And despite him being more of a comic relief character, he actually has proven to save the world on a couple of occasions. It can be argued that without Hercule, Goku would have never been able to gather the energy that he needed for the Spirit Bomb. So he's definitely got some accolades of his own. But when we look specifically at his techniques and some of his physical feats, there's a couple that we can look at. We don't see Hercule fight too much, but we do see him fight here and there. He has fights against people such as Spopovich and some other lower level grunts that we see him fight in some of the movies. But one thing that we know for sure is that Hercule is a trained martial artist, and he was trained since an early age. His name of Hercule, Satan, was actually a name that he gave himself, but that's a video for another day. Now, aside from being able to fight, Hercule has a pretty good amount of feats that we can compare and use to power scale to see more or less how he would compete. So a couple of things to mention. Hercule takes a hit from Cell. Now, Cell is an astronomically more powerful character than anyone in the series up to this point. So even though Cell was obviously suppressing his power, it can still be argued that that hit could have killed any ordinary human. So Hercule has a couple of feats of strength that are worth mentioning. The first one is when we see him pushing 4 tour buses, which on average a tour bus will weigh, maybe around 40,000 pounds. So here you see Hercule literally pushing 4 of them with nothing but his strength. So it can be argued that he's literally pushing anything from maybe 140,000 to maybe 200,000 pounds. Now, it can be argued that pushing a car is already a record-setting achievement in itself. But here you have Hercule pushing 4 tour buses, which is just a crazy, insane feat. Another notable achievement that we see Hercule do is when he's able to break 19 bricks with nothing but the use of his bare hand. Now, when you look at a brick, it can start to crumble at around maybe 2200 through 2500 psi, depending on the brick and things of that nature, but more or less that's the average. So here you have Hercule, who not only was able to break one, but he had to use force that was strong enough to break 19 consecutive bricks, because as we know, there was 20 bricks in that stack that he was trying to break. So you see him leave one, but regardless, he was able to break the first 19, which is just a crazy feat in itself. Now, there's no way that we can know the size or the type of brick that he was able to break, but the main thing that we can take away from this is that even if you lowball the amount of force that it took him to break a brick, Hercule would have needed force to not only be able to break that first initial one, but force to be able to break through the other 18 all consistently, therefore making this an insane feat as well. In the Majin Buu arc, we're able to see when he beats the two men that shot the puppy, we're able to see that Hercule is able to avoid bullets and is able to easily take down both of those men. So this also proves that Hercule is not only strong, but he's incredibly quick as well. So who wins this fight? We know that Rocky has tremendous amount of fortitude because he's able to beat Ivan Drago, who, again, Ivan Drago had enough strength to be able to kill a man with nothing but his punches, which is really what makes Rocky's win over him truly impressive. Now, it's unclear whether Rocky is actually stronger than Ivan Drago, but I think the better argument is that Rocky just has more stamina and more heart than Ivan Drago, which is how he was able to get the win over him. But overall, I would have to say Hercule more than likely wins this fight, because even though it can be argued that Rocky would be able to take some punishment from Hercule, we know that Hercule can do the same. We saw him take a hit from Perfect Cell. And when it comes to terms of strength, we know that Hercule is way above the average man, because we saw him not only be able to push forward tour buses, which again is potentially over 140,000 pounds, but we also see him break 19 brick tiles. There's an argument to be made that the ability to break one brick tile is probably around the force that Ivan Drago was able to do in just one right cross punch. So with Hercule just being able to break multiple of those, it just puts him in a different strength bracket than even Ivan Drago. So overall, I do think Rocky would put up a good fight, but I just don't think it would be enough to put Hercule down. Because even if you make the argument that Rocky would be able to take more punishment than Hercule, which I don't think he can, but even if he does, I don't think Rocky has the speed to be able to get Hercule off guard, because we've seen Hercule also has impressive speed. So with Hercule just being able to dish out so much power, I just think he would be able to knock down Rocky before Rocky's able to do that to him first. But hey, this is just my opinion. Fun little discussion that I wanted to talk about. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment sections. Who do you think would win this fight? Had a lot of fun making this video. Share and like it if you liked the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.